Day number 10 of 30 Days of Feeling. And today, peeps, we're talking about stress. How do I feel about stress? How do I feel about how I handle stress? How do I feel about the stress level of my life and in my life? And I wanted to make this video today because I feel like this is a really important topic of conversation that I don't think people appreciate as much as they need to. And for me, I've dedicated my need to isn't the word, as they could. And for me, I've dedicated my life to creating a life that is as low stress as possible and as fun and joyful as possible and as imaginative as possible and exciting and purposeful and powerful and present and peaceful and compassionate and kind and just amazing as possible. But it all stems from that space of stress as being part of the reflector for me to choose the life that I'm living and where I'm going. So I wanted to get into that today. I just feel like there's a lot to it. So how do I feel about how I deal with stress? I'll talk about that. How do I feel about stress in general? I'm just going to go in. But been a great day so far. Had basketball practice this morning. My leg's getting better. I feel good about it. It's been a journey of healing here. So I'm just being patient and thanking my body for doing all the work that it does to keep me healthy. And so thank you, body. Appreciate you. Thank you. How do I feel about stress? For me, I as I reflect back on my life, there was so much stress, particularly around school and around my inner judgment of myself and around how good I was doing at sports. And most of that just coming down to that inner judge, the inner critic that I had, that gatekeeper that was just closing me off from a lot of really great things. I was closing myself off. And so for a really large part of my childhood, I'd say that I felt about stress like that was normal. It was normal to be stressed out, to be worried that I forgot something, I didn't do my homework, I didn't do good on this test, I was nervous about this upcoming season, this upcoming game, this, that, the other, whatever it was. And I feel like there were a lot of times where I was not stressed. Don't get me wrong, but there were a lot of times where I was stressed, a lot more than now. And I guess I'm always using now as the contrast. And now I feel like my stress levels are basically zero. I almost have zero stress. Rarely do I have like a spike of cortisol that I'm like, oh shit, like hardly ever happens. And the rest of the time mostly is just dedicated to just cultivating more peace and presence and more of me connecting with myself and embracing my power. And as I look back at my life and how I feel about those times, obviously they were inevitable given what my parents, well, not my parents, but what the culture that I grew up in and where I was going and what were the norms of the time. The norms of the time were go to school, do good in school, play sports, be competitive, be the best I could be, and then go to college and go from there. That was it. There wasn't really like this very shiny golden brick pathway to being a men's coach, hosting retreats, building a company of my own, earning as much as I want, doing work that is fulfilling. Like that wasn't really a thing. So when I look at the stress of my life, so much of the stress of my life and my inability to deal with it came down to doing a lot of things that I just didn't want to do and had no desire to do, and not knowing how to process the emotions that went along with forcing myself to do shit that I didn't want to do. And that caused a lot of resentment, a lot of anger, a lot of frustration, and then that resulted in a lot of really negative inner self-talk that just kept me in the toilet, kept me in the dumps, kept me feeling low about myself, kept me out of the imaginative, creative, and open space where I could come up with an idea that could take me to a new world, that could open up my life to live a less stressed life. Because for me as a kid, it wasn't that I didn't have food or water or shelter. It was that I didn't have the inner confidence in myself and the inner belief in myself that I could do something great and be the best me I could be. And that was something that I really struggled with, and I still struggle with it at times. Um, I'd say most often when I am wondering if if the pace I'm going is too slow. I feel like this last few years, especially, but this last decade of me going on my journey of self-discovery was at times very stressful, especially financially early in the game, because I was trying to figure out how to even like offer what I do for people. How do I even put this out into the world and receive from it? How do people even know what I'm doing? Or can I even explain it correctly? Or am I even that good at it? All questions that are normal to ask. But as I look and I see like the last few years in this recent stint, I see a lot of transformation, a lot of expansion, but most importantly, a lot of coming together, and the relevance of this to the larger frame here of like how do I deal with stress and how do I feel about stress in my life and whatnot, is that I've since I let go and moved on from different businesses that I was doing in my early 20s, I knew that I needed to focus on. I knew that the place where I would be the most useful to the world and the place where I would feel the best, and the key word is feel the best, the place that I knew I'd feel the best was going to be in a place where I was less stressed and I was able to have a lot more freedom to roam and do my own thing. And so since my early 20s, I've been on a mission to really get to a place, fields of growth, so to speak, where the stress levels could be way lower because I have everything that I need. And in the last like 10 years, a lot of that was financially driven. And for a lot of you, I'm sure that it's financially driven. Like the stress is a lot of times financial. Like this is all I got. I don't know how I'm going to get more. If I leave this job, then what am I going to have in the interim? I'm nervous to put all my energy into building something different because that's taking away from what I'm doing, and I'm stressed. There's just lots of stress. There's lots of uncertainty. There's lots of insecurity, and I feel like how I've dealt with stress is that I've just bet on myself so many times and overcome so many challenges that I just am capable of handling a lot more. And thus, the things that used to stress me out no longer do. And so, very little stresses me out at a certain point because I have pretty much everything covered, all my bases covered. And if worst case scenario, I'm in a certain situation, I know I can get myself out of it because of the skills that I've built, because of who I am, because of the relationships that I've made, because of the time I've spent building. And I've literally built a life of my own creation that is low stress oriented, and that's kind of the second part of this whole thing is uh, my whole mission of building a low stress lifestyle that really highlights the gift that I have, the work that I want to do, is con- also parallel to work that is very low stress in general. It's very interesting, very curious work, but it's not very stressful. Exploring the inner workings of other people isn't a very stressful thing. It can be very intense, but it's not very stressful. There's a lot of love in the air. There's a lot of peace. There's a lot of presence. There's a lot of connection. There's a lot of softness and comfort and relaxation, and a lot less hyper and aggressive and crazy and curveballs and these things. Not to say there aren't, but mostly no. And that's something that I wanted for me in my life, and that's a place that I wanted to explore and go. So as I look at my life and how I feel about stress and how it plays out, I feel like people who are really stressed, it's very hard for them to be creative, and thus it's very hard for them to access their greater power. And if they can't access their greater power and be magnetic, they're not going to attract and bring in the things and opportunities that are going to help them get to a place where their life can be more peaceful and be less stressful. And I think that's a very, very, very challenging paradigm to shift out of. And I think it takes a really long time to do so. And part of what I'm doing with the men's group and Leaders of Legends community is teaching all of them and bringing that energy into their life, that they can manufacture and create their businesses, their ideas any way they want, instead of buying into the latest marketing lingo of why they should scale as fast as possible. They should be really conscious of building something sustainable around their energy that works for them and keeps the stress low so they can go longer, faster, further, with less accidents, less issues, less speed bumps, and ultimately a lot more fun. And so I feel like that's a huge shift, and it takes time to get there. But for me, when I was in those situations earlier in my career where I was stressed about money, I always knew that I was working towards a life that was going to be generally less stressful at all times. And it really is right now. It really is. The most stress I've had in the last 6 months has been me being frustrated with myself because my leg wasn't healing fast enough. It has nothing to do with any of the am I okay? Like a survival, am I gonna live? Am I gonna is this okay? Is this safe? Spikes very rarely. And the way that I process it, and this is really important, the way that I maybe the most important thing, the way that I process stress is I really sit with the stress. I don't rush through it. I don't take it and bury it. I don't hide it. I don't drown it out either. I just embrace it. I'm frustrated because, I'm angry because, I'm annoyed because. And when I start to communicate this energy, it helps me to clear out all the negativity and then invite in the positivity of it's okay. For example, this morning with my leg. And again, this is important because I feel like learning how to deal with stress and how to properly work through it is something that can really help you get into that creative state that can help you to be imaginative and build the life of your own creation that can be less stressful in general. But to me, it's like, okay, I woke up and I'm like, oh, is it getting better? Okay, it looks like it's getting a little better. Man, why is it taking so long? I'm getting frustrated because it's taking so much longer. I just want to be healthy already. I don't want other issues, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so how does it feel? It feels frustrating. I feel frustrated because I've been really doing like all the right things, like everything I could to be the best I can be and to be as healthy as possible and eat the right stuff and be patient and not push myself too hard, but still like work around it. And even saying that, I feel lighter because I know I'm doing my best and I can't get mad about that. And even then, I can just feel my heart just calm and my nervous system chill. And in the process of these last few months, so many other doors have opened. By me not playing as much basketball, pushing myself as hard physically, I've had more energy to go on exploration and adventure days with my girlfriend. I've had more time around the house to work on my business, to read, to hang, to work on little things around the house. I've gone on more walks. I started riding my bike more. Like so many amazing things have happened. So as I work through the stress of, am I healing fast enough? I actually opened the door of there are so many amazing things happening around me, and all of the energy, collective energy, positive energy of that makes me just feel like, I am healing. I am getting better. And if anything, I'm actually grateful that this happened because it opened up so many other doors that I might not have opened, I might not have seen. It's not even open. I just might not have seen them. When I'm in my normal flow, when you're in your normal flow, I'm only focused on the doors that I've been visualizing, not on the doors that are there. And that's huge. But when the doors that I'm visualizing aren't there, well, what doors do I take? Now there's other doors that I didn't even know were there. Oh, well, this is really great. There's so many awesome doors. There's so many ways in which I can enjoy today. And so I'm really, really big on processing stressful experiences and handling that as soon as it comes up and making time to do so. And maybe that's, if you have a stressful situation at work, you just, instead of going to the gym and knocking it out, you just sit and talk to yourself. You write it out, you journal it out, you call your therapist or coach, whoever it is, to talk through these things. And you try different ways of processing the energy behind this stuff so that you can get back to the state of abundance, the state of peace, state of presence, state of power, where you're most likely to get the results you want. And I think that people really overlook this. Like a lot of people, and myself included at times, take that energy of anger and frustration and channel that into like working harder. But that a lot of times just leaves you burnt out. So stress management and how I feel about stress is just like, first and foremost, building as much of my life around a low stress environment as possible. So like making my environment, the place I live, as low stress as possible. Like chill music in the backgrounds, red lights and Himalayan salt lamps at night, very low key, reasonable bedtime, keeping it chill, going on lots of walks, etc. Secondly, the work I chose to do, work I'm choosing to do is low stress. It can be intense, but it's low stress. It's connective. It feels really healing. It feels really present. It feels powerful. It feels exciting. It feels relaxing. It feels like my clients trust me. So there's not all these little extra things I feel like I have to do in order to appease them. And I'm not like playing those games. I'm just here with them, real and real. And that feels amazing. And the third thing is just when those things do come up, I'm just taking the time and carving out the space to really work through them and let them go. And so much of this 30 days of feeling is about letting go. It's about opening up myself to communicate in new ways so that I can better see myself, understand myself, have more compassion and kindness to myself, and ultimately let go of the things that I know aren't helping me. They're hindering me from being in the supreme state. And what I mean by supreme state is just like your natural state. It's not this like, and, people think enlightenment is up here. Enlightenment is here. It's present. It's not this far away thing. It's this thing right here. It's me allowing myself to just naturally make this video without criticizing, without critiquing, without worrying, without wondering, just flowing. It's okay, Graham. It's okay if this makes no sense. It's okay if it gets 2 views. It's okay if no one ever gets it. It's not even about that. It's just about me communicating with myself. And all of you have been invited to that party. And stress is it's a huge theme of my life, is keeping it low stress. I want to live a long life, and I feel like the less stress I have, the longer I'm going to live, as simple as it is. And the less stress I have, the more moments of presence, the more moments of peace, the more moments of power I'm in. And the more moments of presence, peace, and power I'm in, the more my life's flowing, and the more I'm enjoying, and the more fun that I'm going to have. And those things are important to me. And maybe they are or they aren't to you, but they're important to me. And when I speak them, I just feel really light, and I see light, and I feel good. And it gives me like a little smirk, and I just am grateful. And I'm just thankful for the time I put in this last decade to building a life of my own creation that's just really low stress. And I feel strongly about stress, that it's something that I need to be conscious of and keep low. And if I'm doing things that are stressing me out over and over again, those things need to be removed from my life. I need to shift the way I interact with them. I need to change the work that I do. If there's a client that I'm not jamming with, I need to shift the relationship or just move on from the relationship. I don't need that. It's not that important. It's not that deep. I'd rather live in my space, present, peaceful, powerful, than have all the things. A lot of people want all the things, but then once they get them, they want more presence, peace, and power. And that's when they come to me and join what we're doing in Leaders Legends. But I think that you can do it yourself, and I want you to. And it starts with you putting yourself first in that regard of presence, peace, and power leads to all the things that I want. But I don't sacrifice presence, peace, and power to get them. And that's what I've been doing with my life. And I feel like I've never had less stress in my life. And I look back at my younger self, who is so stressed all the time and so hypercritical of himself, and I just can't even believe that I ever was like that. It's like, it's horrible to like observe. Horrible isn't the word. It's hard to believe that it was like that for me then. That I had so little self-awareness and so little self-consciousness and so little compassion to myself, for a variety of reasons I'm not going to get into at this moment. Um, but man, to have that all now just feels so relaxing. The most stressful thing I'll do all day is drive to my client's house, because 95 is crazy. That's it. It's so good. So anyway, that's my spiel on stress and how I feel about it. I feel if you can make your environment, I feel like I made my environment low stress. I chose low stress work that had a high value and impact to the world, and an infinite ceiling of success financially and beyond that I could move towards. And I make sure to process these things when they come up. I don't wait. I don't bury them. I don't drown them out with drugs or alcohol or caffeine or anything. I don't drown them out with more work. I just sit with them, and I embrace them, and I embrace myself, and I get to learn who I am. And in those moments, I actually grow stronger and my resilience increases. But the biggest thing is I don't punish the rest of my body and myself, because I'm afraid to confront who I am. And I feel like that's a really, really big thing that a lot of men and a lot of people miss in general. I'm just not willing to sacrifice all these different parts of myself and stress myself out because I can't communicate with myself. That's not who I am. It feels very powerful to say. I'll say that again. I'm not willing to sacrifice parts of myself and who I am just to avoid having to confront who I am. I don't know if that made sense. The first time I said it, I think correct. The second time, I don't even know what the hell I said. I'm just so sauced. It's great. So yeah, I'm curious, maybe in a way you could feel into today, is how do I feel about my stress management? How do I feel about the stress levels of my life? And how do I feel about the things in my life that stress me out? How can I change them or shift them? Those are all questions you can ask yourself and start with. But for me, I feel like I've done a really great job of cultivating a life of low stress, work that fulfills me, an environment that feels like home and peaceful, and the vision of things that are just going to continue to build and grow, but stay in the same flow of low stress and presence, peace, power in life. And it comes from presence, peace, power, and then the things, not the things, and then I'm looking for presence, peace, and power. I don't put the things above me. A lot of you put the things above you, and that's why it feels like shit. I don't recommend that. That's what I'd say for today. And I feel like I do a great job of stress management. Could always be probably a little quicker, but I do a good job. Graham, you're doing a great job, buddy. You really are. I feel it right here. You're just a good person. You care. You want good things for the world. You want to do right by people and by the world. And you are committed to being better. it's about the best I could do. So just wanted to thank you today for just keeping it low stress for me and keeping me safe and protected, but also having the courage to put me out there in the most powerful way that can continue to serve the world and myself. And so I appreciate you. 30 days of feeling. Day 10. Feels good. Feels really good to share with you. I feel really empowered. I feel really connected. I feel really present. And I just want to encourage you to do this for yourself and put yourself into a place where you are communicating with yourself consistently, especially through those stressful times. And if you have any questions about this or anything along those lines, just drop them in the comments. Maybe I'll make a more in-depth video at some point about this stuff, but these 30 days of feeling videos are just like riffs right off here and here, and just sharing what I'm feeling about whatever I'm feeling about. So, as always, presence, peace, and power be with you all. I appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in and supporting me. And I just look forward to making more videos. Just like really feels good to say that. I genuinely am excited to make more videos. So thank you for supporting me, and I hope you're enjoying them and taking away some good things. As always, we're practicing. Presence, peace, and power. Legends find a way.